Father, in the name of Jesus, we want to thank you for today. Thank you for this class we're going into. We ask for the spirit of wisdom. We ask for understanding. We ask for retentive memory in the name of Jesus. We ask that whatever we shall learn today shall stick to our memories in the name of Jesus. And at the end of today, all the glory shall be yours in the name of Jesus. In Jesus' precious name we have prayed. Amen. We are still looking at Ralph Ellison's The Invisible Man. And right from the beginning of the class, we explained or were able to see how a narrator was trying to move from being invisible to being visible, which wasn't applicable, which was not possible because of the period at the time where the novel was written. But the narrator strives to be seen, he strives to be visible. But for that to happen, he had to go through different processes or through different aspects to ensure that he was what? Visible. Remember, we said an invisible person is someone that cannot be seen, somebody that is not known, somebody that is not appreciated. And so this narrator wanted to move from that aspect of being invisible to that aspect of being visible. Okay, now. And at that time, we said his grandfather gave him an advice. When he saw that, when the narrator's grandfather gave him an advice, when he saw that the narrator was striving to be seen. And what was the advice his grandfather gave him? We discussed this in class when we started Ralph Ellison's The Invisible Man. His grandfather told him something on his deathbed that has to do with the narrator's quest to become visible. What did the grandfather tell him? Fortune. His grandfather told him what? Fortune. Ejubo, can you tell me?
That he should be a threat to the society.
No. Mercy?
Ma?
Yes, his grandfather told him something on his deathbed. Where he told him, he was telling him something that has to do with him doing everything possible to be seen. What did he tell him?
Ma, I can't remember. I think he is a spy.
You said? That means you've
Ma,
not
I can't remember.
Try, remember something. At least Ejubo said something. She said for him to be a threat to the society. So say something. Joba, I'll still call you again. Yes. His grandfather told him what on his sickbed. You're thinking. What he told him has to do with racism. What he told him has to do with racism. Between the blacks and the whites. You can't remember. He said, the far grandfather told him that for him to be relevant or to be visible, he has to what? Walk by in the white man's what? Ways. Which means he has to tell them the what? There was a particular word I used. He had to tell them what? The lies. Thank you very much. God bless you. He has to tell the whites the lies they want to hear. He needs to tell them what they need to hear. Remember, I said the narrator got to understand that for you to strive or to be visible in the white man's country, that means you have to do what the white man wants you to do, and you have to tell them the lies they want to what? Hear. Only then can you what? Can you be successful living with them. And we said the quest for visibility for this narrator started when he was invited to the what? Royal Battle Program, where he was to give a speech. Now, that speech was to give him a scholarship to study in one of the schools for the what? Negroes. But before then, he had to perform for the whites. And I told you the 4 different stages he had to pass through. The first one was when he had to watch a nude woman without being aroused or without showing emotions. The second one was when he had to fight with his fellow black man. The third was when he had to pick coins and what? Coins from the what? Electric wire. And the fourth one was when through pains he had to deliver his speech. And he mistakenly used what? Social what? Equality instead of what? Social what? Responsibility. Finally, he was given a scholarship to study in the school for what? Negroes. That was in chapter 1. And we treated chapter 2 and chapter what? 3. We said he finally found himself at college and he had to take up the job of a what? Chauffeur. That is driving Mr. what? Mr. Who? What's the name of the driver?
Nothing.
Mr. Norton, thank you.
Nothing.
Now, eventually, Mr. Norton told him to take him to a place where he had not seen before. And the narrator took him where? First?
The log cabin.
The log cabin, where he had an interaction with who? Mr. Trueblood.
Jim Trueblood.
And afterwards, when the narrator, when Mr. Norton got to know about the awful experience of Jim Trueblood and the experiences of the blacks, he needed whiskey to revive him back from the state he was. And this eventually led them to where? To another place. What is the name of the place?
The Golden Day.
The Golden Bay.
The Golden Day.
Thank you. Now, also there at the Golden Bay, Mr. Norton got to see another side of the blacks, which Mr. Bledsoe doesn't want him to know. Remember we said, for you to survive, you have to tell them the lies they want to hear, and you have to behave the way you want them to behave. Eventually, he got to know, just like we did in the last class, that was chapter 3, we got to know how Mr. Norton and the narrator felt at the Golden Bay. He said he passed out several times and he had to be revived with what? Whiskey. Eventually, with the trauma and the experiences of the Golden Bay, they finally left back to where? To the college. So today we'll be looking at chapter 4 and 5 of Ralph Ellison's The Invisible Man. Okay, evaluation of chapter 4 and 5 of Ralph Ellison's The Invisible Man. So, just like I explained to you, the narrator and Mr. Norton eventually returned back to college after the experience they had to pass through at the Golden Bay. Mr. Norton returned back with a bruise on his cheek, and that was as a result of them trying to leave the Golden Bay based on the commotion that happened. And now the narrator drove. Please, anybody close to those children making noise, please. Is either you leave them or you leave that area so we could concentrate, please. So we said Mr. Norton returned back to his room from the Golden Bay, and he had to call on Dr. Bledsoe as instructed by Mr. Norton. On getting to the campus, Dr. Bledsoe is enraged at the narrator for being so naive enough to take the trustee to places like Trueblood's house and the Golden Bay. Now, remember we said the blacks, excuse me, were trying to paint themselves as good people to the white people. Now, for Dr. Bledsoe, wait, let me even ask a question. Dr. Bledsoe, is Dr. Bledsoe white or black? Is he a white man or a black? Huh?
White.
Baba said white. Ejubo, Dr. Bledsoe, do you think he's an African American or an American?
African American.
Mercy, what of you? 14. Is Mercy there? Joba, he's not white. He was only trying to play to the rules of what? The white people. Remember I said for you to survive or for you to be relevant in the white society, you have to play to their what? Rules. And you have to tell them the lies they want to hear. That was what Mr. Bledsoe did that took him to that social class or that social ladder that he got to. And so because of this, he has to play along to the rules. So Dr. Bledsoe is not white, he's not American, he's a what? African American. And so we said Dr. Bledsoe is enraged at the narrator for being naive enough to take the trustee to places like True Blood's house and the Golden Bay. To Mr. Bledsoe, white give orders, and it is the responsibility of the narrator as a black person to present to the whites the lies they want to see and they want to what? Hear. In as much as those whites know the level of degradation and social class of the blacks, the Dr. Bledsoe didn't expect the narrator to take them to places where they could get a deeper understanding of what? The ways of the blacks. Remember when we started, we treated a text then, and I told you that one of the things the blacks were known for was that they were what? Sexually active. And that is why the white women, as in the whites, don't want to see the blacks with their women because they knew that they could be sexually what? Assaulted at any time. And so this white knew that the blacks were that bad, but for the narrator to now take them to the place where he could actually get a clearer view of what the blacks were portrayed as got him very, very what? Angry. They were just to pretend to them that, okay, this was the life of the blacks, but not taking them there to actually see how things were being played out. If you read the text very well, apart from taking them to the cabin where they found Jim Trueblood, things that actually happened at the Golden Bay also got to what? Mr. Wu? Nothing. And that was what Mr. Bledsoe was trying to capitalize on and ask the narrator why he took the trustee there. He said they were to present to the whites the lies they want to see and hear. Bledsoe here is represented after the conversation as a narrator. With the narrator, after the conversation he had, of course, you know that he had a conversation with who? The narrator. After the narrator went to call him that Mr. Norton wants to see him, that was when they returned from the Golden Bay. And so the conversation between Dr. Bledsoe and the narrator showed him as a hypocrite, a dubious man who pretends to love the white man but hates him. Remember I said he knew how to play, he knows how to play the game very well. And so in as much as he has gotten to a social class or a social ladder, when you now try to show the whites that, okay, you want to bring in racism or you want to show them the discrepancy between the whites and the blacks, that will make him to lose his job. But he presents to them as if he's a good person, but at the back, he hates them and does not want anything to do with them. So we said After the conversation between he and the narrator now saw him as a hypocrite, a dubious man who pretends to love the white man but hates on him. Now, and after the outburst, the narrator is now directed to what? Attend a program at the chapel. It was after the end of the program in the chapel that he was to face what? The consequences of why he took Mr. Norton to the cabin, and also why he took him to what? The Golden Bay. And so when he got to the chapel, that was supposed to be a celebration of what? The Founders' Day. The program at the chapel was the Founders' Day celebration. And we were told about a narrator who gave us the history of how and when the college started, and the group of trustees that ensured that the college moves to the stage it was to where it is at that time. And so we said the program at the chapel was a Founders' Day celebration. And the person who gave the narrator, or the character who gave the speech that day, was Homer Babi. I said the character who gave or delivered the speech at the Founders' Day was what? Homer Babi, who begins to reenact history and tells the story of the college, the historical details behind the establishment of the college, especially the works of the what? Founders. That was a speech he gave on that fateful day. And so, because the narrator was interested, okay, the fact that the founder is not named in this speech makes us question the visibility of Blacks who do great in the United States of America without being what? Noticed. I said Homer Babi gave us a speech. He reenacted history by telling us how the school started and what? The founders, and how the school moved from where it was to where it is now. But we said all through the speech, we were not told who the founder of the school is or was. We were only told that the fact that the founder is not named in this story makes us question the visibility of Black people who do great in the United States of what? America. Though in the course of his speech, he said the founder is what? Was associated with Booker T. Washington. But we were not told the actual name of the what? Founder. We were told that he had trustees. That is a group of people who come together to ensure that the college is what? Established. But we were not actually told who the founder was. And when you read through the text also, we said the founder was associated with Booker T. Washington. The question is, who is Booker T. Washington? Booker T. Washington was an educator and a what? Reformer. He was the most influential Black leader at that time. And this happened also when the book was written, between the time when the book was written, that is 1856 to 1915. Are we following? Can I get a yes or a no?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. I said he preached a philosophy of self-help, racial solidarity, and what? Accommodation. As in, Blacks are to what? Help themselves. They should have racial solidarity, and they should be able to what? Accommodate themselves. He urged the Blacks to accept discrimination for the time being. To accept discrimination means at that time, where we have North America and we have South America. And at that time, most of the Blacks were in what? South America, where this racial discrimination was what? more in what? Existence. And so he urged the blacks to accept this discrimination for the time being. Remember, we said you cannot challenge what? The whites. It is either you walk by their ways or you don't find themselves where they are. If at all you try to challenge them, you are either lynched or you are what? Jailed. Because you have to pay for the consequences for challenging their stand. And so he urged the blacks to accept discrimination for the time being and concentrate on elevating themselves through what? Hard work. And that was what happened to Dr. Bledsoe. Dr. Bledsoe actually found himself at the premises of that college feeding, is it hogs? Let's say he was feeding, pigs. Do you understand? Taking food to the pigs. And we were told that he did that with so much enthusiasm and dedication that the white man now picked him to become a what? Office assistant. Are you getting me? He did the work of feeding the pigs so well that the whites saw his passion and decided to take him to an office to be an errand boy. And it was from there he started climbing the ladder, even to being one of the founders of what? The college. And so whatever he was doing was just to ensure that he remains at that position he was. Do you understand? Because if he goes against the norms of the school, it means he will lose his job, and he got to that position through hard work. So he had to play by the rules. And what were the rules? We said you have to tell them the lies they want to hear, and you have to do what they want you to do. And so we said, though the founder of the school wasn't called, but the founder, we said, was associated to who? Booker T. Washington. And I said Booker T. Washington was an educator, and he was what? A reformer. A reformer is someone who preached self-help, racial solidarity, and what? Accommodation between what? The blacks. And so seeing that there's discrimination between the blacks and the white, he told them to accept the discrimination for the time being and concentrate on elevating themselves only through hard work. So these were the preachings, the speech that the character Barbie gave on that Founders Day. And at the end, the narrator got to know that the person, that's the character, that's Barbie, giving that speech was actually what? What happened to him? He was what?
Blind. He was blind.
He was blind. Thank you very much. He was blind. So that shows you what? The level of what? A blind man giving a speech, so he could not even see. That gives you what? A picture into that aspect of invisibility that we're actually talking about. I hope you're following me.
Yes.
Now, remember we said he actually went to meet Mr. Bledsoe to give him his verdict for taking Mr. Norton to True Blood's cabin and the Golden Bay. He was awaiting his verdict. Now, when he went to meet Dr. Bledsoe was when Dr. Bledsoe asked him to go to the chapel and to see him after the program. But he was so tense that he couldn't wait to the end of the chapel program. So he had to leave to Dr. Bledsoe's office before the end of the procession. Again, he was interrogated by Dr. Bledsoe for taking Mr. Norton to True Blood's quarters and what? The Golden Bay. As he was trying to explain that he didn't take Mr. Norton there intentionally, he took Mr. Norton there based on Dr. Norton's request to give him a new view of the places he hadn't been to in the college environment. As he was explaining, if you read through the text, you will read that Dr. Bledsoe cuts him short and gives him a shocking revelation on how to treat whites, contrary to that which the school publicly praised. And so Dr. Bledsoe told the narrator that You are black and living in the South. Did you forget how to lie? Remember that the narrator had seen Dr. Bledsoe as a what? As a mentor, based on the facts and the story he heard of how he grew from a slave or a dirty black American to be one of the top cadres meant for the white people. And so Dr. Bledsoe told him, you are black and living in the South. Did you forget how to lie? The dumbest black bastard knows that the only way to please a white man is to what? Lie. Now, Dr. Bledsoe was reenacting the same words his grandfather told him on his sick bed before he died, that for you to challenge the whites, or for you to get to the social ladder you want to get to, especially in a white-dominated society, you have to tell them the lies they want to hear, and you have to do what they want you to do. And so we said the narrator was shocked that Dr. Bledsoe, a man he holds in high esteem, and tell him to lie to a white man. He is further confounded when Dr. Bledsoe calls him a nigger. You know, a nigger calling a nigger. Do you understand? Because Dr. Bledsoe is also an African American, and so both of them are still in the same, social race. That, let me use that word. And so he was so surprised. And you know, Dr. Bledsoe feels he could call him a nigger because, you know, he's already in the top ladder. Are you getting me? Where the whites are. So he feels, okay, he also sees himself as a white man. And so we said Dr. Bledsoe calls him a nigger. And that being a nigger is a derogatory term used by whites for black people. Okay. Is that where we are? A derogatory term used by blacks for whites for blacks. Okay. Now, after Mr. Bledsoe gave him those derogatory words, he was now ready to receive his verdict. Now, what was his verdict? What was the verdict Dr. Bledsoe gave the narrator? He was what? Don't talk. I don't want. Shidalu, you submitted my assignment.
Huh?
You submitted my assignment. So what was the verdict that was given by Dr. Bledsoe to the narrator?
Ma, he told him to lie.
No. What was the final verdict that was given to him for taking Mr. Norton to the cabin and for taking him to the Royal Bay?
Oh, ma, they said she go to the chapel.
No. Going to the chapel was not his verdict now. Paul. What was he was giving his final verdict? He was awaiting his verdict. That was when he was asked to go to the chapel, and he should return after the chapel. So when he returned back after the chapel, what was the verdict given to him? What was the verdict given to him? So you only copy and pasted my assignment. You didn't read. Paul. Okay, Paul is just coming in. Fortune. A good job.
Ma.
So what was the verdict given to him?
Ma, I've not read chapter 5.
Can you imagine? But that was okay, you were not in my last class. Paul. How are you?
Fine, ma.
What was the verdict given to the narrator by Dr. Bledsoe?
Ma, he told him that he should go on suspension or something like that, that he'll call him back after some period of time.
No, it was, he actually told him that he was going to go on expulsion. That means he's going to leave the school automatically. Are you getting me? And so when he told the narrator that he would be expelled, the narrator challenged the verdict. given to him by Dr. Bledsoe. As in, he was challenging why Dr. Bledsoe was going to expel him, telling him that it was not his fault that he took Mr. Norton to those places. He took Mr. Norton to those places based on Mr. Norton's what? Permission to do that. And so for challenging that his verdict, Dr. Bledsoe is surprised that the narrator has the nerves to challenge him. And so he reminded the narrator of his invisibility, as in as much as you find yourself in the college and you got yourself a job as a chauffeur, my dear, you are a nobody's son. You don't exist. Can't you see that? And this can be seen in page 143 of the text. That was where the narrator challenged Dr. Bledsoe for expelling him from school. And so even when he finally insulted the narrator for challenging him and calling him a nobody, he then finally changed the expulsion to what? Suspension. I hope you're getting me now. The first verdict he gave to him was what? Expulsion, that he was expelled from what? School. Now that expulsion was what the narrator challenged. That why will he be expelled from school? That whatever happened was because Mr. Norton asked him to do that, not on his own accord. So after calling him a nobody and showing him of his invisibility, he later changed it from what? Expulsion to what? Suspension. But that was only between him and what? The narrator. You understand when we read on. So, Mr. Bledsoe later changed his decision on the narrator from an expulsion to a 1-year suspension. He promised to help him secure a job which will help him pay for his tuition when he returns back to college after that 1 year. And that he did that. Remember, we said he has to lie. You know, lying has become a way for the blacks and for he himself, for him to survive and for him to get to that social ladder that he was. And so he now told the narrator that he should just, don't worry, just go for this 1-year suspension. And during that 1 year, I will ensure you get a job where you will be paid. So that when you return back after that 1 year, it won't be difficult for you to pay for your what? Tuition fee. And so he promised to help him secure a job which will help him pay for his tuition when he returns back to what? College. He then handed 7 envelopes to the narrator to take to New York and give to the people where he was sent to. So those people he was to give those 7 envelopes to were to ensure that he gets what? A job. And he told the narrator not to open those letters. So let me use that word, foolishly. The narrator left the college and headed to where? New York. He went to the first office, he went to the second office, he went to the third, the fourth, the fifth, and the 6th office to deliver those letters without knowing the content of the letter. Now, the 7th one was when he got the shocking news of his life. So who can tell me? What was the shocking news? Please put on your video. Let me see your face or your faces. Chidalu.
Huh?
You are not making me happy these days. You have just been doing copy and paste for me. Oh yeah, now, what was the shocking news he got to know?
Man, in the chapter 5 I read, I don't see that part. That you carry 7 envelopes.
My roomie. I only saw that he gave him 7 letters, but I didn't see that I didn't see that about the one you're talking about.
Okay, what the content of the letter?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay, that should be in that's in chapter 6. But I'm just trying to give you a link. But you read it in chapter 5 that he actually handed him 7 envelopes, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
And those envelopes he was to take to what? New York, to present to
New
those
York.
people who were supposed to get him a job.
A job.
Now, in chapter, let me just conclude my. So he went to the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. Now, it was at the 7th place he got the shocking news of his life. Remember, we said at first he was expelled from school. But when he challenged his expulsion, Dr. Bledsoe had to change it from expulsion to what? Suspension. He even went ahead to promise him that he was going to help him secure a job that will enable him to pay for his tuition after the 1 year, when he returns back after the 1 year of suspension. And the narrator was so happy, thinking he had seen a fellow black who is fighting for him. Now, this is the answer. It took him some time, only when he got to the 7th office to drop the letter, that he got to know that he was lied to based on the content of the letter that was opened by young Emerson. Now, when he got to the 2nd office, no, he was supposed to deliver the message. He gave them the message and was expecting them to reply. He was expecting a reply. He waited for days. Then the 3rd day, he decided to go to the office. Those other 6, he was waiting for the reply of the other 6 places he had dropped the envelope. Now, on the 7th day, he got to the office. But the person he was supposed to hand over the letter to wasn't around, but he met his son. That's young Emerson. Now, he handed over the letter to the young Emerson. And young Emerson left the room and returned back. He asked the narrator why he had to bring that letter. He told him what happened. And now young Emerson told him that, oh boy, you better forget about that college and go and look for a job. But because he was still holding on to the words Dr. Bledsoe told him that he was only going on suspension, not expulsion, he now said no, that he must return back to college. It was young Emerson that told him that he was actually, he has been expelled from school. And that was what is in the content of, the letter. But he was lied to by Dr. Bledsoe that he was only going for 1 year suspension. And so he was lied to based on the content of the letter that was opened by young Emerson, who told him to forget going back to college and find a job to do. When he got this news, he was devastated and angry. And so he decided and promised himself and his race to see to the death of Dr. Bledsoe. And this was in revenge to the lie he lied to him. Are you getting me? So automatically, Dr. Bledsoe lied to him that he was going on what? Suspension, just to let him go or leave the college. He wouldn't have even known the content of those letters because he had been expecting those places where he dropped his letters. He has been expecting them to call him back to discuss about the job, but nobody called him back. And so he was worried. Not until young Emerson opened the envelope that he got to know that he was actually lied to. All through this one, he has been expelled from school. And so he, in revenge to himself and his race, he promised to see that Dr. Bledsoe, he promised to see to the what? Death of who? Dr. Bledsoe. So you could see the aspect or the ways that this narrator had to move from being invisible to being what? Visible. And even in that visibility, where he found himself in college as a chauffeur, he had to lie, he had to pretend to be who he wasn't, just for him to be what? Relevant in that what? White community. So you could see that, remember from the beginning, I told you that he was striving to be what? Visible. He was an invisible man, trying to be visible in a society where it was difficult for him to be visible. But finding himself there, he decided to play by their own ways. That's by lying and telling them what they want to hear. But he saw that the more he wants to be visible, he became what? Invisible. And so the battle back to invisibility started when he decided to seek the what? Death of what? Dr. Bledsoe. I hope that is well understood.
Yes, ma'am.
So we've done chapter 1. At least you should know what happened in chapter 1. Chapter 1 was when he found himself at the what? Battle Royale program. And all the challenges, all the things he had to pass through before he could finally get what? Scholarship to the School of Negro. Chapter 2 was where he drove who?
Yes, ma'am.
No. Chapter 2 was also part of chapter 1, right? Chapter 3 was where he had to take he took Mr. Norton to the cabin where they saw Jim Trueblood. Chapter 4 was where? The Golden Gate.
No,
chapter 4.
Why chapter 4?
Chapter 3 was Golden Day.
Okay, chapter 4. What happened in chapter 4?
That he went to tell Mr. Norton that if he tells
him and Mr. Bledsoe had a meeting.
No, chapter 4 was when, listen, chapter 4 was where he returned back from Golden Bay. And he had to call Dr. Bledsoe to come and see Dr. Norton.
Mr. Norton.
And he was expecting Mr. Bledsoe to tell him his what? Consequences. Why he took Mr. Norton to Trueblood's house and the Golden Bay. That then still at that chapter 4 was when Dr. Bledsoe told him to go to what? To the chapel. Now, chapter 5 was where he went to the chapel and they were celebrating what? The Founders Day. And I told you the character that gave the speech, Bobby. And at the end, he got that Bobby was what? Was blind. Now, it was also in chapter 5 that he got his verdict that he was expelled from school. And chapter 5 ended where he was handed what? 7 what? Envelopes to take to letters to take to where? New York. And they were all lies from who? Dr. Bledsoe. All right. So in the next class, we're going to treat chapter what? 6 and chapter 7. But our next class also will be class work.
Now, which chapter?
6 and 7.
For the class work?
Yes. Mercy, your gift is still standing, except Chidado gave me a wrong number. But it's the correct one.
Man, he gave you his own number. He gave you his second number so that you send it to second number.
So I am looking forward to the person that will win my giveaway in the next class again. Fortune. Paul, how are you?
Is it Wi-Fi now? Fine, mom.
Are you good?
Yes, mom.
Oh yeah, continue to be a good boy, eh?
Yes, mom.
Joba. Continue to be a good boy. All of you, Mercy, Ejubo, Ebujo.
Ma.
With little baby for me, what's his name?
Evan.
Evans. Oh yeah, to greet Evans for me.
Evans.
Oh, we'll meet, yes.
Evans.
Fortune. So you purposely put up your video, Abby?
No problem.
Eh?
I'm having a network problem.
What is your problem? Why are you frowning your face? I don't like that face. Oh yeah, make it brighter. Make it brighter.
Starboy face.
I want to see those. Oh yeah, smile or laugh. Start laughing. So So I say you should read chapter 6 and 7, and that will be our classwork in the next class. So, do I have any news? Tell your classmate that COVID-19 is over, and it will soon be over. We will meet ourselves in class again. Eh?
Okay, ma.
All right, so have a wonderful day. Chidalu, keep chatting, ba. I will soon tell the class the little secret me and you I know about you. I should share it.
Ma, tell us.
No, ma.
Eh? I should not tell them.
Yes.
But I asked you a question today, you denied it. You did not answer me.
Why was it?
Eh?
That's why he left.
That's why he left, right?
That's why he left. I was not chatting. He said I cannot.
Don't worry, I know all now. I know all. Oh yeah, now. Have a wonderful evening. Bye.
Hi.